All right, well, hello, wine drinking people. Today is Thursday, January 27th. Time for the Paul Hobbs Dinner. Getting ready to take off and drink some great wines. You can read about it, what I drank yesterday, tomorrow. But hey, it's time for what I drank yesterday, today. So what did we drink yesterday? Well, actually, we're getting a little backed up here. So those of you that have been in the store, those suppliers that no, this wasn't actually what I had yesterday, but we're getting caught up on the week here, and we've even got some reviews to do from last week, man. The Madeira tasting Saturday night, wow, fabulous stuff. I'll review that, I don't know, in a day or something once I can put it together, and then our dinner with Eric Talavant from Chateau Valendraud. Also haven't had time to write all that stuff up, but hey, we do a lot of drinking here at the Wine Watch, so let's get right to it. And what I had sometime a few days ago or yesterday, the Hartford wines. We had Tom Rosner in from Hartford Court Winery and some great stuff. This is a winery that I have followed for a long time. I'll never forget the tasting that Don Hartford did down at Two Chefs in Miami, where he tasted a lineup of his wines against some top-level Grand Cru Burgundies. And these were not just, you know, Courtons or some other kind of lesser producer. He had Domaine de Romanée-Conti, he had Loire, he had top-level wines from Burgundy, very expensive wines, some of the elite producers there, and he pitted his wines against these. A very brave thing to do, but something I have a tremendous amount of respect for wine producers that are willing to do, put their wine up against the best of the best, or at least what's considered the best. And, you know, a lot of times that means what the most expensive wine is. And you know what? That day, Hartford Court wines reigned supreme. Of the 20 tasters that were there, I think there was only one person that picked the Burgundies above the California Pinot Noirs from Hartford Court. And from that day on, I've been a big fan of Hartford's wines. And I haven't seen Don too much, but we've done several dinners with his winemaker and with other people from Hartford Court throughout the years. And I have been out to see the winery. I guess Don was running the whole operation. This is Don's married to Jess Jackson's daughter, Barbara. And these guys, I guess he was running the whole operation for Jess, and now he's taking a step back, and they're actually purchasing the Hartford Court Winery, and they're going to own it 100%, and he'll just be running Hartford Court, which they produce about 10,000 cases at Hartford Court. They used to make a Sonoma Coast Appalachian Pinot and Chard that was $20 or less that we sold a ton of, but a few years back they decided, look, we're going to change the program. This is our crown jewel producer for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. So they just do single vineyard wines, and they do blends of those single vineyard wines, or their entry-level wines now, the Land's Edge Pinot Noir and the Stone Cote. So some great stuff here, and the 07 and 08 vintage, which we had, two phenomenal vintages for Hartford Court. We'll start out with a Stone Cote Chardonnay, and this wine's got some lovely minerality to it, but you definitely are not going to mistake these wines for Burgundy, white or red, because of their lush tropical forward fruit, some lovely pear and apple fruit here, some spice, some vanilla bean creme brulee notes, a good amount of minerality again coming through there, and some lovely toasty brioche notes. Only 706 packs of this wine are made, but really nice and drinking beautifully right now at this early stage of its life. Even though it's got some great acidity, I think you could keep this wine for several years. A really excellent bottle of Chardonnay, actually most excellent. This is one of the ones we had to pick up immediately. Usually I do not buy wines right when they show them to me. I like to make the suppliers wait a week or two to make them look like, you know, we didn't like the wines as much as we did, but I bought these three on site because I didn't know if they were going to be around. There was only a few 6-packs of each in inventory. All right, next up, the Four Hearts Chardonnay. Now, this is the blend of Dellinger, Loras, Rued, and Fog Dance Vineyard. So this is the actual blend, not the Stone Cote. I'm sorry, that comes from the Durrell Vineyard. And this has got a little bit of Arrendell in it also. A little bit austere on the nose, but again, some nice minerality to this wine, some gravelly, stony-like hints, lemon drop candy fruit, a hint of toasty oak spice in there as well, and a little bit of pine resin also. But a nice amount of concentration on the palate, flavors really coming together. And this needs a bit of time here, I think. A very big Chardonnay, but has all the right stuff. Pretty nice. And then the Loras Vineyard Chardonnay 2007. And this wine's 100% Rued clone, a very heavy style of Chardonnay, really oaky. If you like that kind of thing, butterscotch, really big and, you know, a little bit on the heavy side for me on the finish also with the oak. But like I said, some people like big, oaky California Chardonnays. If you do, this wine is for you. It's not made every year, only when they feel like the conditions are right. 07 was a great vintage for Chardonnay. Next up, the Velvet Sisters. And the name for this one comes out of some novel, some town in Northern California that it was written up about these sisters that were named the Velvet Sisters. And I don't know if that's such a great story, but you know, the wine is spectacular, and it's got wonderful spice on the nose, exotic floral highlights, a good amount of black raspberry fruit here as well, and lovely complexity and nuance on the nose here. On the palate, lovely silky velvety texture. You know, you can't help but notice that with the name of Velvet Sisters, and you know it's going to be silky and velvety on the palate. But this is a really big wine, and this is one of my favorite Pinot Noirs, usually from Hartford Court, and most excellent again on this occasion in 07. All right, the 06 7 benches from Carneros. This wine had a good amount of black spice to it and smoke, some lovely black cherry fruit and dark damp earth, a nice hint of dark spices and fresh earth on the palate. A little clay-like minerality, and again, really smooth and velvety on the tongue, and a nice hand of spice on the finish. Just not as complex as that Velvet Sisters. And then the Land's Edge. This is kind of like their entry-level Pinot Noir now, but a lot of wild strawberry, black raspberry fruit, a nice hint of floral note, and allspice, a very pretty bouquet on the nose. Nice intensity of fruit with some smooth, silky tannins, and nice freshness and a long finish there. A really excellent wine. And then the Arrendell Vineyard, which this is one of the oldest vineyards in the Russian River Valley, planted by Warren Dutton in the early 70s. And man, this wine has really come into its own. The Arrendell has always been one of my favorite Pinots from Hartford. Just incredible concentration, a really pretty bouquet of fresh cut flowers, allspice, the intensity of black cherry liqueur here, really standing out, really forward in seduction, and man, a blockbuster on the palate. This is a Cabernet drinker's Pinot. Really big, layers of exotic spice, and a wonderful freshness bringing everything together on the finish. Most excellent. Hey, Hartford Court also makes some great Zinfandels. Great Zinfandel? Did I say that? Okay, well, very well balanced and a great example of what Zinfandel can be. Lovely raspberry jam on this Russian River Cuvée. They also make Finucane Road, High Wire, some single vineyards that have incredible concentration but still have balance. One of the things a lot of Zinfandels miss. And I think you could actually age these ones for a couple years, but this wine is so appealing now, you really don't want to keep it. Just drink it up. All right, well, next up, we had the winemaker from Numanthia in from Toro, and this was a winery that I followed since the very beginning, 1998 being the first vintage, and I've had almost every release of Numanthia, a fabulous wine, one of my favorite wines from Toro, the winery that really put Toro on the map, and the Numanthia from them, their luxury cuvee, I think an outstanding wine also, maybe a little bit pricey for what it is, but hey, these are, you know, some of the world's oldest Tempranillo vines and pre-phylloxera, so really, you know, old and concentrated wine that comes out of these vineyards. So, you know, when you get less than a ton per acre, that's what happens. You have to charge a lot for the wine that comes out of it. The Termes, unfortunately, was slightly flawed. You know, this is the entry-level wine that a lot of people consider the greatest value in Spain. I think it got as high as number 3 on the top 100 list. And 100% Tinto de Toro, which is a clone of Tempranillo. But the Tempranillo from Toro, very different from that in Rioja and even Ribera del Duero. You get this wonderful color out of it and this wonderful intensity of fruit. A really big and seductive wine, and still having, though, some soft tannins, even though it's so big. But I loved all these wines. 07 Numanthia, maybe a little lighter, more savory style of Numanthia, because 07 was just that, a more of a classic style, cooler vintage. And 50 to 100-year-old vines in the Numanthia. And I'm sorry, the Termes did have a little bit of like a taint to it, maybe just a hint of acetone, but even slightly tainted, the wine was still pretty good. And then the Numanthia, excellent, even though, like I said, a difficult vintage. And then Numanthia, 120 to 140-year-old vine, 0.8 hectares, really intense, dark, and really, I mean, a killer bottle of wine. One of the best Toros that I've ever had, this 06 Numanthia. All right, well, Anthony Pannoni from the Florida Wine Company was in next with some Copain wines and something he needed to get out of the warehouse. And you know what that means? We're talking very, very good deal here, folks, on this little wine, the St. Jean de Bourou. But the Copain wines, also very good. And even though they're not incredibly discounted, I thought they were very reasonably priced. This Tout Ensemble, Wells Guthrie's entry-level wine. The Viognier, one of the best balanced Viogniers I've ever had. Lovely lychee nut and white peach fruit. A little bit of clay-like kind of minerality to the nose. White flowers. Lovely richness on the tongue, but excellent freshness as well. A lot of Viogniers tend to be a little heavy in the residual sugar. Just a hint of white pepper on the finish. the Pinot Noir Tout Ensemble from 2008. This was the year that they had those fires in Northern California, so they had to filter this wine. A nice wine, some of that smoky bacon fat note on the nose, not from the fires, but just you get that a little bit in Pinot Noir. But some lovely red cherry fruit, black spices, some lovely black raspberry fruit on the tongue, nice floral notes. Really nice little Pinot, well-balanced, and they're pretty fresh on the finish. And then the Syrah Tout Ensemble. Syrah, one of the things that Wells Guthrie's very familiar with as he cut his teeth at Chapoutier in the Rhone. And dark plum and blackberry jam. These from McDowell Valley, some of the old McDowell Valley vineyards, some of the oldest vineyards in Northern California for Syrah. And wonderful intensity here, but still wonderful freshness. One of the things I like about cooler climate Syrah. Really nice little bottle of Syrah for $23. All right, and then that St. Jean de Beru wine I told you about. This guy was a pharmacist, and he bought this little vineyard, farms it by a mixture of organic and biodynamic methods, but only makes 1,000 cases of this wine. This is one of the garage producers of the Cote de Ventoux, the area just south of the Cote de Rhone, and a really intense wine, but lovely freshness on this wine also. It's 15% alcohol, but you would never guess it. It has this lovely garrigue, kind of fresh floral character that you get from wines from this region, but an incredible little value. We used to sell the 04 at $28. This is on sale for $15 and change. Check it out on today's email. That's what I had to drink yesterday. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasone, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.